Any other questions for Ms. Gonzalez?
Your Honor, just briefly,
Go ahead.
are you 100% sure who the aggressor is in the physical altercations between Diane and Carly?
No.
So if this court were to grant the request of the father's attorney and potentially appoint JMC, does it address that issue upon Carly's return from residential treatment?
No.
Nothing further, sir. And the department has no further witnesses.
Ms. Hellrung, any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to call Ms. Diane Odell. Ms. Odell, you heard the testimony of the department's family-based worker, Ms. Taylor, talk about her concerns for your ability to meet the needs of the child. Do you believe that you can meet the needs of Carly?
I was not given enough chance myself.
Objection, non-responsive, Your Honor.
Ms. Odell, it's a yes or no.
Yes or no?
Do you believe you can meet the needs of Carly?
Yes, I think I can meet the needs.
And how would you meet them?
I could take her to the intense counseling. I feel like that she could go to Laurel Ridge, if nothing else. She's got Medicaid and they have got a place open now for her. They do intense counseling. So if she has to be inpatient, then I feel like that is a good place for her.
What type of program does Laurel Ridge have?
They do, they would find out what is wrong, what she needs, and try and help her there with whatever therapy she needs, counseling, medication.
When you say Laurel Ridge, do you mean the inpatient facility or an outpatient program?
Inpatient.
And are you aware that she would have to be in crisis? She'd have to be a danger to herself or someone else?
Yes or no? I'm not
Objection,
sure.
Your Honor.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Ms. Odell, you have to answer the question to the best of your ability. You can't ask your attorney how to answer the question.
I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Okay. You answer it to the best you can, or you say, I don't know how to answer it.
Well, then repeat the question, because I really don't know how to answer that question.
Okay. My question is, Ms. Odell, are you aware of the requirements to get the child inpatient?
I guess I'm not.
Okay. Now the department did work with you starting in December with resources and with counseling. What would change if Carly were returned back home with you?
Well, they're wanting her to go to San Antonio for this counseling. I would do everything I can to try and get her there. Now, if CPS is offering to help pay for her to go for transportation to Kerrville or somewhere, can't they help me with the transportation to go to San Antonio too?
I can't answer that question. I'm just asking that if she were returned to you, would you be able to provide the needs that they believe that she requires?
I think I could.
Okay. And the altercations that they testified about, do you believe that you could control and be able to redirect Carly if she were returned home?
Well, we've gotten some assessment through the psychology, it's like a psychiatrist or whatever, and that was supposed to come in the following week. We did the ARD. I've been taking her to counseling. I've been waiting for the results to come in so that we could try and get whatever counseling she needed or medication. And instead, they pull her out 2 days after the ARD. from school. They didn't even give me a chance and I asked them to give me a week so I could get the financial help to take her to these counseling meetings, and they wouldn't even.
Okay. Without talking about that they took her out, what if you were given the opportunity, Ms. O'Dell, what would you do differently? What do you have the means to do now that you did not back when the child was removed?
Well, they talk about my house being condemned. I've gotten the boxes removed. The electricity, it was always been there. The water heater now works. I have a stove, refrigerator. The stove's always worked. Refrigerator just needed propane. I have propane now. Everything is working there.
Okay.
The money to get her to counseling would be something I'd work on to do.
Okay. So if she had the counseling in San Antonio, you think you could come up with the means to do that?
I do my best.
Okay. So if Carly were to be defiant or become agitated, what would you do in those circumstances differently than happened before?
First of all, I think that a lot of that was because she was in lack of sleep. And I feel like she's ADD. I don't know. That needs to be addressed. But they're at where she's at now. They've got her on melatonin, I believe, and that would help too, to get her to go to sleep. So a child needs to sleep, and without sleep, they become aggressive. So I feel like that would help. And then I don't know any other issues that she may have that we need to address. I don't know if she needs any other medications or not, but I feel like that we're one step closer, and I'm her security. I'm her stability.
Okay. Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Ms. Skylar Green.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Ms. O'Dell, how did you find the address to Carly's placement?
They gave it to me there at the home.
Who's they?
One of the workers that she was there on the phone with. They gave it out. I've never been there. I sent her a letter. I sent her one of those, a card for encouragement card.
Do you agree with your son that Carly is not the aggressor in the physical altercations that the two of you have had throughout the years?
She's very stubborn. I know, I really don't know. Let's see. She does have a behavior there that it's hard for me to understand. I know she's a preteen. I know she's going through periods, and she's trying to figure out her hormones. And she's like any child that wants to express themselves.
Do you think that the way that Carly expresses herself is age appropriate?
She needs counseling. She needs help. And that's where
Is that a no?
No.
So if Carly's not the aggressor in those situations, are you the aggressor?
Oh, I thought you, no,
You're not the aggressor?
no,
Okay. Do you fear for your safety with Carly?
no.
So when you've reached out to the caseworker and your therapist expressing a concern for your safety, is that just not accurate anymore?
There were times I couldn't get my phone And so I would just give up. But as far as she never did hurt me,
Is she capable of hurting you?
she's bigger than me.
Okay, is she still growing?
Well, sure. Her dad's
Okay.
6'5". I'm 5'2". She's 5'7".
Okay, so I'll ask you again, ma'am, do you have concerns for your safety when it comes to Carly when the two of you get into physical altercations?
No.
When it comes to Carly's mental capacity, what is your understanding as to her, what her mental capacity age is?
She's a couple years behind.
Do you know how many years behind?
In school, some of them's on level, but a lot of them are in 3rd grade.
And she should be in what grade?
Well, she started kindergarten a year late, and so that put her a year behind.
Okay.
Then, so
And what about
she,
her emotional intelligence? Are you aware of what level of emotional intelligence she currently possesses?
no, I don't.
I just want to make clear, because I think this has gone a couple times around. You don't have any legal rights of Carly.
I have found power of attorney dated back in 2017, given me power of attorney for her medical, dental, and educational. Then I have found back a year ago, I just found that, given me custody rights. Is that what it was? I don't know what it.
Could you share those with the parties?
I, Kevin Odell, give Diane Odell my power granted to receive custody and parental rights, papers and copies and originals on or about my daughter Carly, allow her to use this document as a legal power of attorney or otherwise to be able to obtain the above mentioned and any other legal documents requested by her on or about Kevin Odell, Carl, or the termination of Christy Walther motherly parental rights papers. If needed, allow this document to be considered a durable power of attorney for her request. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, signed May the 6th, 2022. And then it's notarized.
Whenever there have been concerns over Carly's education or emotional or physical needs, do you still reach out to your son for advice on that?
Did I do what?
Do you still reach out to Mr. Odell for his opinion on what moves you should make as Carly's caregiver?
Well, yeah, he's the father, so I'd like his input too.
Okay, so when he has no concerns over Carly's emotional or educational or safety needs, do you then mirror those concerns?
Then I can take over, yes. But I couldn't find these papers until over the weekend.
Okay, so you've never used them before?
And do what?
You've never used those papers before?
I've used the power of attorney one that I had, but it was packed away.
Okay.
I've used that one for school before, but I couldn't find it.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
had I known it, I would have given this to Taylor a month ago.
Okay, thank
Thank you,
you,
ma'am.
Ms. Odell. Are you done questioning her, Ms. Skylar Green?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Harris?
Ma'am, did you talk to your therapist about the allegations that Carly had stabbed you?
She has not stabbed me. I stabbed myself. That was an accident. She was in another room. Now, what had happened is I had a bowl of ice. And
Non-responsive, Your Honor. It was just a question.
Okay, that's it. I did it myself. She's never stabbed me.
When you didn't have a working toilet in the RV, where would you guys use the bathroom?
No. I've always had a working toilet. No.
And so you heard somebody testify that you did not have a working toilet. You dispute that?
I never heard that. I have a working toilet. I didn't have a working water heater, and that is now working.
And how long did you not have a working water heater?
Couple years. I've always
So-
brought water in, and I've always boiled water if we needed to, or used a washcloth and soap and water.
So do you think that's appropriate for a young child, a young preteen, teenager, for her to have to bathe that way?
We also went down to the clubhouse and was able to bathe down there whenever we needed. We went down there a couple times a week.
Where did you go during the recent ice storm? Did you stay there or did you go someplace else?
No, I stayed at my friend's Bob Harkins in San Antonio.
Okay, is that the same gentleman that doesn't want Carly in the house anymore?
I never said he didn't want her in the house anymore. He wanted to help me get her out of the house that day so we could leave.
So you mentioned that Carly wasn't sleeping at night. You think that might be one of her problems. So what did you do to address that? What did you do to help her sleep more?
My daughter had told me to put her on diet Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is a lot of, what is that? Caffeine, but the diet works the opposite on kids, and that would help her calm down. So I had her on that. I didn't know about putting her on melatonin. You know, there are things that they're doing now that I could have done and feel like that that the therapy and so can help me to teach this child.
What were you doing? You heard the investigator describe the workbook that was in the home. What were you doing to meet Carly's educational needs all of last fall?
I put her in school and she wasn't there 1 week and she came home with the COVID. I have COPD asthma. I'm over 65 and I also go in once a month for infusion.
And that's all fine, but what did you do after you took her out? What did you do to meet her education?
Then we got I have her reading books all the time. I had her doing this Brain Quest book, taking her to libraries also, but the Brain Quest where she was to do these, and she would skip. She would go from page 1 all the way back to 100, you know. So she skipped back and forth. So when Taylor saw the book, some of it was not filled in. It was sporadically.
That's fine. Did you ever look into what educational requirements children have if they're homeschooled? Did you go to the library or call a homeschooling place? What did you do?
No, I didn't. I had talked to other mothers that were doing homeschooling, and they were the ones that told me to go through this Brain Quest, that it was a very good book.
And you think that was meeting her needs?
And when it wasn't, I was helping her. When I had her in public school last year, they just pass them on. I had her in summer school and it was 8 days. And out of 8 days, she went 3 days to a field trip.
And did Carly have any friends that she played with while she wasn't in school or got to?
Oh, that's no problem. She makes friends. That's no problem.
Okay, so what friends was she getting to play with and spend time with when she wasn't in school?
When she wasn't in school?
Correct.
I took her down to the park and she played with 3 kids that were neighbors over there. She met a girl named Misty and she played with her all the time. I would take her to the library and she played with kids there. I had her in soccer. She played once a week. Well, no, she had practiced twice a week and played soccer once a week. I put her in the First Baptist Church of Bandera, and she got into the choir there. She sang in the choir. She also went and sang for the Christmas cantata for the rehab center and for the church.
And what about, you were participating in the ARD meeting, right? Is what you
Yes,
called
I
it?
did. Yes.
Okay, and what did they tell you were her disabilities?
What did what?
What did they tell you were her disabilities or her problems that needed to be
She
addressed?
has learning disability. She didn't start talking till she was 2.5. And so therefore it's put her back with her reading. She has problems with comprehension.
And what did they put in place to meet those needs?
I took her to several schools, Brighton School, Epic. Ever since she was 18 months old, she's been going to therapy for speech. She didn't talk until she was 2.5. She still gets speech therapy at school.
Was she getting that while she was at home with you?
No.
Have you also been talking to her while she's at the center where she's been placed at?
Yes,
Okay.
Taylor told me that they would allow her, and so she calls me and I talk to her.
And have
And
you
she
talked to her about
cries
this
all the
case?
time.
Have you talked to her about this case?
I told her I was coming today. I told her that I love her.
Did you talk to her about getting an attorney and getting her back home?
I did tell her I had an attorney. I did tell her I would always fight for her, that I loved her very much.
Did you talk to her about her father or her mother?
I said they love her, and that's basically it. They love her very much.
And so you got a power of attorney from your son all the way back in 2017. Has he
Yes,
been
I
in
do.
jail that whole time?
No, he's been in and out, but I have it so that if I
And
needed
so
it,
what is your understanding of what he's in and out of jail for?
this
Do you know
time
what he's in jail for?
I know what he's in jail this time for, and he's for now what is it called? I can't think of what it's called.
Has there been charges in his past for violence?
Not that I'm aware of.
Have there been charges in his past about drugs?
Possible. I'm not real positive.
So when he's home, what would you do to protect Carly from being exposed to violence or drugs?
There's never around. He doesn't drink or do any kind of drugs when he's around us. He has stayed.
And is it your
away.
understanding that the paperwork that you have, the power of attorney, is all you need to be able to have custody of her?
I would hope so. I love her with all my heart.
I know you do, ma'am. I know, and
I'm
she loves
sorry.
you as well. No further questions, Judge.
Any follow-up?
No redirect, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other witnesses, Ms. Halloran?
Your Honor, I would call Kevin Odell.
Mr. Odell, you can unmute. Okay, Ms. Halloran, you may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Odell, it's almost 5 o'clock, so I'm asking you to be pretty brief, okay? First of all, do you believe that Carly needs to be in care? I can't hear you. No
I
one
can't
can
hear you, sir. No.
Say hello.
All right,
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Mr. Odell, do you believe that your daughter needs to be in the care of the department?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. Can you tell the court why?
Because, for one, I wrote down a bunch of lies that they said. They never gave me the chance, to put her in a behavioral thing, which I do not agree that she should be in, because I don't think that either one of them are aggressors like they said that I said that they were. I never said that about my mother. I never said that my daughter or my mother, when I'm around, they get along great. And I've been around since she was 4 months old. I mean, all of her life
Objection,
since
narrative,
birth,
Your Honor.
but
Dang, let's.
I can barely hear y'all.
Let's hear. Let's keep it to a Q&A. He's given a narrative answer.
I got it.
No,
If,
I don't think she needs to be in the department's custody. Is that what you're asking?
yes, that answers my question. What would you like, where would you like Carly to be?
I would like her to be with my mother until I get out. I go to the hearing on the 15th, and I'm in here on a false accusation.
Okay.
And I have no drug history.
Hang
by the
on,
way.
Mr.
Sorry.
Mr. Odell, just answer the question that you're asked.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Would you agree to allow your daughter to get mental health treatment if she is returned to your mother?
Of course,
Okay,
anything I need to do for her. Yes, ma'am.
okay. And you believe that your mother has the capability to take care of your son? Or your daughter? Sorry, it's been a long day.
100%. Her and I have since she was born, and she does it when I'm gone.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%, 101%.
You do not at this time believe any of the testimony of the caseworkers? Is that correct?
I don't believe any of it, you said? Not about the physical altercation. No, ma'am. I think it's been way blown out of proportion, big time. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Do you
My
think
daughter-
that there are concerns with Carly being able to be educated and go to school?
She's behind because of the things that my mom said earlier to y'all, because of her speech being late and everything. Concerns, I think my mom has done a fabulous job. And me, when I've been out there trying to catch her up on things, I denied her going back to school for a little while. Because they caught COVID at one point. Both of them were in the hospital. And so I feared them going back, and my mom having COPD, but finally I agreed to go ahead and put her back in. And when I did, because CPS said she needed to be in there, so I agreed to have my mother put her back in. So she put her back in, and then they came and got her not long after.
Okay.
And they, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were upset that, and without disparaging anyone, what are your concerns with Carly being in care?
What are my concerns? She's being bullied. She cries to my mom daily about that. Begs her to come get her. Is that what you mean? And she's not with family and people that love her to death. She's our everything. I mean, we would do nothing wrong to that child, and she loves my mother to death, and me as well. She needs to be with people that she loves to death and that love her to death, and not be being bullied by 10 girls and 4 boys that had to swap her rooms and this and that and different kind of things because of her being bullied and stuff. And,
Okay. All
she
right.
doesn't
Your
need
Honor.
that.
Got
I'm
it.
sorry.
Okay. That's okay. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Skylar Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Odell, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. You stated that you didn't get a chance to put her in a behavioral thing because you didn't want her to be in a residential treatment. You said that the
Ma'am.
department didn't give you a chance to do it because you didn't want it.
Oh, ma'am, I said, I don't believe that she needs to. I'm
But
trying to
she-
say that, ma'am, they didn't give me the chance. They came down here, a messenger did, not Miss Taylor, came down here to the visitation booth and told me that some altercation had happened or something, and that they were gonna take her out of the house and home if I didn't sign these papers giving them power to put her in a behavioral thing. I said, well, and due to my family not having any kind of people ready in my family to take her as a safety plan or anything. I said, what do you mean? Nobody in my family? You don't know her, but you didn't ask me if I have anybody in my family that will take her as a safety plan or anything. You're telling me I said, that's my family. I know, not y'all. I said, I'll go back to the pod right now and make some phone calls. And I'll
Mr.
find some
Odell,
people.
so
Yeah.
the
Can I
question
answer
that I
the question?
asked you,
Yes.
sir, the question that I asked you is, I just want to make
I'm
sure.
trying to
you're-
answer it. It's almost over. You asked me if they gave me the opportunity. And so they told me, she told me I could go back to the pod and I could make phone calls for safety plans
Sir,
and call Taylor the next day. I
Sir.
did.
Mr. Odell, she
Yes, sir.
asked you if you had the opportunity. It's a yes or no question. So
Opportunity to what? To sign the paper?
ask
No.
your question again, Ms. Kyler Green.
thank you, Your Honor. You stated that you didn't have the chance to put her in a behavioral residential facility because you didn't want her to go. You didn't think she needed to go. Is that right?
No, they told me I could have another day to make the decision. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, so my question is, at that time that you were requested to provide
If they would have
information.
told me
Sir, I'm
now
gonna
or
ask you a
never.
question and I need you to listen before you
Mr.
start
Odell.
answering.
Yes,
Do
sir.
not interrupt her when she's asking you the question.
Okay, I'm trying to understand. Okay.
Okay. My question for you is, isn't it true that you didn't think she needed to be in a residential facility?
That's correct.
Okay, you still don't think she should be in a residential facility?
No, actually, it's not correct. I'm sorry, I retract that. I don't think she should be under the power of the state. I do think that residential facility, a proper one would not be so bad. But just to help her with therapy and stuff, but not under the power of the state. I don't believe that. Does that answer? Maybe?
You stated that the cops, that the altercations that Miss Gonzalez described were blown out of proportion. Isn't that right?
My knowledge, yes.
Okay. You weren't present for those.
I've never seen them fight.
Okay,
Physically?
you're aware that law enforcement was called.
Yes,
Do you think that it's appropriate for for an altercation between your mother and your daughter to be so bad that law enforcement is having to be called?
people call the police over all kinds of things, man.
Okay, do you think that's?
I don't think it was
appropriate?
a physical altercation that anybody got harmed by each other.
Sorry, you don't think it was a physical altercation, or you don't think it was a physical altercation where somebody was harmed?
Both.
So you don't think anything happened at all?
I didn't say that. I didn't say nothing happened at all. I think that they were arguing. Probably, this is my assumption. You want me to make an assumption? I believe that they were
I'm
arguing.
asking for your
verbally.
knowledge, sir. I'm asking for what you're aware of.
I'm not aware of any physical altercation.
Okay, but based on your lack of awareness, you're making the conclusion that it's
Lack of
being
awareness.
blown out
I
of
speak to my
proportion.
daughter every day, 3 times a day. I was until y'all took her, and she tells me everything, and she never told me anything like that. She
So
tells me
you're not aware of the
everything.
bruises that were found on Carly?
No,
And you're not aware of the allegation of biting between your mother and your daughter?
a scratch from the dog on the face is what I heard. No, I don't know. No,
Okay, and your testimony is that Carly is behind multiple grade levels because she started speaking late?
no, ma'am. That's not the only reason. She has ADD, I believe. I'm not a doctor, but I have ADD, and I believe that she has it also. She has a attention deficit disorder. I believe I've seen it in her, and she needs some kind of medication for that. It's a learning disability, and she needs extra help to pick up her. And my mom has been trying. I used to try when I was out there before this false accusation. Yeah, no, she needs help, and she's behind because of multiple things. But it's not because of any kind of abuse at home, like it seems like they're trying to say. You know,
Did you condone the education that Carly was receiving since October?
what does that mean? Condone it?
Approve.
Did I approve that? I give my mother educational permission to go ahead and do what she needs to do while I'm in here. Is that what you mean?
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so did you approve of the homeschooling that your mother was providing for Carly after she took her out of school for those 10 days?
I pushed for her to homeschool her. They wanted to put her in school, and I pushed for homeschooling because of how bad the COVID was, and they were hospitalized because of COVID, ma'am.
Okay,
Finally, I let her go back to school.
so you're still, I want to make sure that's clear for the record as well. You are still making the educational calls when it comes to Carly, not your mother.
Well, I'm her father. No, both of us. No, her too. Both of us.
But she's reaching out to you for permission.
Well, no, just for, to talk to me and give I guess my decision too, and to work with her. We're like a team.
Okay.
All of us are.
Right this second,
Yes, ma'am.
are you able to come get Carly?
I able to come get her? That would be illegal.
Okay. Are you able to physically take care of her right now?
In jail, I'm jail if I was out.
Okay. Are you able to break up any physical altercations between her and your mother right now?
Believe that there is any.
Okay. Are you able to call law enforcement if there's any sort of threat made to Carly or a threat made to your mother?
Sure, I did it. Sure, I did it in Bandera, Texas. I sure did. I told the officer, but not between them two. Some other man was doing.
No, sir, I'm not
Yes,
asking
ma'am, I sure
generally.
did.
I'm asking if you are able to right now intervene in any sort of physical altercation between Carly and your mother.
Can I physically? I'm in
In any
jail.
way, provide any sort of intervention or
I could
protection.
report it to the law, or I could call family and have them go over.
All
there.
right, Mr. Odell, I
I don't
have,
understand.
Mr. Odell, there's a court reporter here.
Okay,
And every time you interrupt Miss Kyler Green, you make it very difficult for the court reporter to take down what both of you are saying.
guess
Okay,
I'm
so I
not
need you to
understanding.
Wait until she's done and I'm done talking before you talk. Go ahead, Miss Kyler Green.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Odell, my question is, if there is any sort of physical altercation between Carly and your mother, are you able to provide any sort of intervention whatsoever while you're incarcerated?
Yes, I believe so. By making a phone call. If that's what you asking, is that what you mean? If my daughter, if I talk to my daughter and she tells me something happens, and I guess. You mean not if I don't see it or she's not telling me about it? No, I don't.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not understanding, man. Did that answer it?
No, it's fine, sir. Thank you very much. I have nothing further, sir.
Ms. Harris.
Said you spoke to Carly frequently, correct?
Ma'am?
You said you spoke to Carly frequently, correct?
Not since that she was taken away, but
Before that, you spoke to her frequently?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke with her daily.
Did she ever tell you about her grandmother hitting her or biting her? If she had, what would you have done?
Would be upset and call my family, call mother, call sister, call people to go try to get her. Or not try, but to tell them to go get her.
And is this all the family that's not able to take care of her now?
To go pick her up. No, I have family. I have a list of people that can take her right now. That's what I'm saying. I do have
Okay.
people. I don't
And so
understand why y'all
if you
keep saying that.
if you recognized for a long time that Carly needed treatment, why wasn't she already getting it when CPS stepped into this case?
She's been in special ed classes. What do you mean? I don't understand what
Well,
you're
you
saying.
said she had ADHD and you said that she needs therapy. Why wasn't she already getting treatment for those things?
I think my mother made it clear a minute ago that she's taken her to many therapeutic places, and also she's been in special ed classes. And I went to her ARD meetings and stuff like that when I was out there. And I talked to the principal. We were trying to do what we could. What do you mean? She was.
So you think that between you and your mother, you were meeting all of her needs?
I think she needs to be on medication of some sort. She needs to go to a site for ADD. That's what I believe. So that would help us.
So why didn't you take her somewhere to get that done before this case started?
Before this case started, I didn't know that I'm in jail for. You mean?
No, before this CPS case started. Why had you never taken her to get her
I was
on
in
medication?
jail when this started that I know of. When did this
Mr.
start?
Odell,
Yes,
if
sir.
you interrupt one of the attorneys asking you a question again, I'm going to cut off the testimony and you're not going to get to talk anymore. You have to stop interrupting the attorneys when they're asking you questions. Can you repeat your question, please, Ms. Harris?
So if you knew that Carly had ADHD and needed medication, which is what you just said, Why had you not made sure that happened before this CPS case started?
I did not know she has ADD. I told you that I think she has it.
And did you
And-
take her somewhere to have it diagnosed?
I was in jail, ma'am.
Okay. So you weren't able to meet that need because you were in jail?
I'm in jail. I've been in jail for 8 or 9 months. I don't know when this
Okay.
case, I don't know when this
And-
case,
And before that, how long were you out of jail before you were arrested again?
about a year.
And how old were you when you first started being placed into jail for different offenses?
I went to juvenile when I was 16 years old.
Okay. And is it fair to say that you've been in and out of jail since you were 16 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that makes you capable of meeting all of your daughter's needs?
I have so far.
Do you think that you being in and out of jail might be hard for her?
Yes, ma'am.
Have some of your convictions involved violence?
I haven't been convicted of anything violent, ma'am.
Have some of your arrests involved violence?
False accusation. Yes, ma'am. I'm in here on a false accusation. And I'm gonna prove it hopefully on the 15th, ma'am. I mean, I take a polygraph test, so I don't think that's even fair bringing this up.
What about your other convictions and incarcerations? Were those false allegations as well?
They were not violent.
Did they involve drugs?
No, ma'am. That's why.
So you don't have a conviction for possession of a controlled substance?
Did not. Oh, yeah, okay, hold them up. Now that you say that, I think that in Bandera, Texas, you talking about some capsules that someone, so they were prescription medication, ma'am, that were not in the bottle. Yes, ma'am. And I took yes, I do, but they were prescription. You're right. I have had back surgery, ma'am. Forgot about that. I apologize.
And do you believe that you're a bully to your mother?
No, ma'am.
Do you feel like you treat her with respect?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel like she is free to make decisions about what Carly needs? So when you said that you let her go back into school, was that because it was your decision or was it your mother's decision?
Both. But
If Carly was upset tonight and wanted to talk to you, would she be able to call you?
y'all won't let, they won't let,
That's
They won't-
that's not my question. Would she be able to get a hold of you at your facility if she called and wanted to talk to you?
Miss Freeman, you didn't hear that answer?
I got no, ma'am, but then I thought he said something else and I did not get that.
Okay.
And I'm keeping an eye on time, Your Honor. I think I'm
I
done.
just have one, Your Honor. You testified earlier that you had a list of people that you would like studied or to place Carly with. Would one be Josette and Brian Scott? Would that be one?
yes, ma'am.
And the other being Janessa Salazar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anybody else that I have not talked about that you would like the judge to know about?
Well, I mean, you mean that she can go stay at?
Correct.
Those two are the number ones right there.
All right. I have nothing further, Your Honor. You can go ahead and mute, Mr. Odell.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go ahead and start with closings. We'll start with the department.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not going to rehash the entire the entire day's worth of testimony that we've heard today, but there's a couple things that I do want to draw the court's attention to. This family, it would appear, probably all three members of this family, I don't think there's a lack of love in this situation, but the department's concern is that this is a completely unsustainable situation, and it is going to lead, as was testified to somebody getting hurt more than they've been hurt already. And the department's fear is that it's going to be Carly. There is a history, a significant history dating back of physical altercations involving this child, and now she is involved in them herself. I don't think it's fair necessarily to point fingers on who is the aggressor and who's not, but I do think it's interesting and for the court to consider that we do not know who is the aggressor and who is not. And either way, if Carly starts it because she's a teenager and she's hormonal, or Diane starts it because she is not on her medication that she should be taking. Either way, it is not a sustainable situation. And for a young teenage girl, this is a danger. And it has been a danger. And it's being minimized and it's being pushed under the rug by this family, I think because of an issue of pride, not because they are actually putting Carly's needs first. So the department has come in and has exercised an unbelievable amount of restraint through its reasonable efforts to prevent a removal, in that this case started off as a family-based service case where every hand was held to get services, to have those services actually do something that needed to be done, but nothing was enough for the situation in this. And that's what happens sometimes when you start low and you start slow and try to find out what's going on and what services a child needs, and things get uncovered. This child's emotional intelligence is very low. Her IQ is very low, and her mental health needs are extreme, and she is not having her needs met. Her education is not being met. Her hygiene is not being met. Her physical safety in the home is not being met. Sleep is not being met. All of these things are contributing to the situation that we find ourselves in, where we have a child and her grandmother having the police called on them. The department is requesting that the court grant temporary managing conservatorship so we can get this child help. We can put her in a facility where she can get diagnosed. She can get the help that she needs with no intervention from a parent who isn't able to be physically there to help this child. And when he was physically there, does not appear to have provided any assistance to her in keeping her from going down this road. The department, I imagine that it's going to be requested for joint managing conservatorship. That was another reasonable effort that the department did to prevent a removal. But at this time, based on the fact that it is beyond just therapeutic needs that Carly needs, the department does not feel that it's appropriate to grant joint managing conservatorship with the father in this case. He's physically unable to be there for his daughter. And in his words, through no fault of his own, through a false accusation, but presumably let's pretend that actually these charges, if there's a conviction, it's going to be even longer, that he's not physically able to be there. And this child needs help. The department wants to provide assistance to her, and the only way to do that in this situation is to be granted temporary managing conservatorship so we can get her services started, Your Honor. And I think based on the testimony of Taylor and based upon the testimony of the grandmother and the father in this case, the court can see that it's in the child's best interest that she get help and get some space from these people who do not have the ability to provide her the care that she needs. Thank you.
Ms. Elrod.
Yes, Your Honor. My client testified that the department really didn't give him a shot to really understand. When this hearing started, the court understood that this would be a JMC case. Ms. Kyler Green states that's reasonable efforts, but apparently it's now off the table. I think that the court could accomplish the very same thing to get Carly into an RTC, to get her the help that she needs with the JMC. It doesn't need full-blown temporary managing conservatorship. There was a lot of testimony about what my client had said, but unfortunately, Ms. Gonzalez never actually met with my client to actually tell him what was going on. So he had a full picture. He was getting it through a courtesy worker. So a lot of the information that he has may not have been entirely accurate because we don't know. So Your Honor, we would ask for joint managing conservatorship if the department believes that she needs to be in residential treatment. He would also ask that there be a study to look into appropriate placement. And I cannot pronounce this woman's name. It's Xocheit. I think it's Shisetti and Brian Scott, or in the alternative, Janisa Salazar. Thank you.
Sarah's.
Your Honor, I support everything the department said regarding temporary managing conservatorship. Carly wants to go home to her grandmother. She absolutely does. I am concerned about information she gave to you being persuaded by conversations with her family. I'm not happy about the unfettered access that grandmother has had to talk to Carly, to influence what Carly has said to you. I have gotten conflicting information along the way. But it's absolutely clear that her father has not met her needs, does not intend to meet her needs, and could meet her needs even if he wanted to. I think that while Diane absolutely loves her granddaughter, and I am hopeful that Carly can eventually go home to her at some point, it's clear that Diane does not fully understand the needs of Carly, how to meet them, or even meet some of her own needs. Some of the living conditions are concerning for a 70-year-old woman with underlying health issues, just as concerning as they are for Carly. So I hope that through this case, we can do what we need to do to achieve what Carly wants. In the meantime, that can't happen. It is not safe for her to be back at home. We have one parent in this, and that parent does not have a suitable place for his child to be taken care of. This family thought that signing a power of attorney in 2017 was all they needed to meet her needs. Not only is that not true, they haven't met her needs. I would ask that the department be granted the temporary managing conservatorship. I do think that Carly needs to be moved out of the location she's at right now. It is an emergency shelter. It is not appropriate for somebody with her emotional and intelligence kind of needs. It's not good for her there, and some bad things have already happened that I'm not pleased with. So she needs to get moved out of there as soon as possible. I know some people have talked about a regional treatment center and inpatient care. I'm actually really hopeful that we can get her into a foster home and try to meet her needs there. I think that we may reduce the need for some kind of intensive, ongoing, possibly inpatient kind of care if we have supportive, responsible adults around her that are meeting her needs. I would ask that on her behalf that she be allowed to have calls with Diane. However, I would ask that those be strictly monitored with strict instructions that she does not speak to Carly about the case, about her coming home, about her lawyer, about anything she's doing with that. The phone call should solely be, how are you doing? How was your day? What have you been up to? And I don't think that it should be monitored by the current placement. Clearly that has not gone well. I think that that needs to be monitored by the department or some other approved person so that the call can be ended immediately if that behavior is not corrected. She has asked to be able to speak to her dad. Obviously, that's not a possibility. She also has a friend named Misty that she would like to be able to talk to. While Misty is a young adult, she does also have some learning disabilities. It is Carly's understanding that Misty has autism, and so she has an emotional intelligence similar to Carly's, and they get along very well. And the investigator has indicated that that probably would be an appropriate and supportive relationship to be able to maintain by phone. Carly has also asked that if she has to remain in care, that she wants all of her clothes and she wants her makeup palettes that her grandmother gave her. She said she doesn't just like having the makeup, but that they're special to her because her grandmother gave them to her. She has also indicated that if she were to go any place else besides where she's at, that it be a foster home with very nice people. She does not wish to be in a place with a lot of other kids. And that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We're in complete agreement with the department and the attorney ad litem at this time. We agree that the department being named as temporary managing conservator of Carly is in her best interest. We also do not agree that a JMC case would be suitable or appropriate given the situation. There has been a lot of discussion about Carly may need medication, Carly may need intensive this, but I would agree with the attorney ad litem that what Carly needs is a safe, stable environment where her physical and emotional needs can be met and can be the focus of what's happening in her environment.
I would like to add that when I spent time with her on Monday, she did mention to me towards the end of our visit how much she loved her grandmother, but she did say, I don't want to go back there.
Thank you. Ms. Kyla Green as petitioner, do you have any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
The court finds that Mr. Odell has appeared in this suit for all intents and purposes, and the department is relieved of the obligation to serve him. The biological mother, Christy LaFleur's rights were previously terminated. She is no longer a party to this suit. Court finds that it is in the best interest of the child. There's sufficient evidence to satisfy a person of ordinary prudence and caution that there was a danger to the physical health or safety of the child caused by an act or failure to act of the person entitled to possession. For the child to remain in the home is contrary to the welfare of the child. The urgent need for protection required the immediate removal of the child, and reasonable efforts consistent with the circumstances and providing for the safety of the child were made to eliminate or prevent the child's removal. And reasonable efforts have been made to enable the child to return home. There's a substantial risk of a continuing danger if the child is returned home. Court names the Department of Family Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the child. Court names Mr. Odell, the father, as a temporary possessory conservator. Court orders the parties to hold a family group conference to develop family plans of service narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought the child into the care of the department. Court orders Diane Odell to participate in the family group conference and to work services. I'm going to order that there be no contact between Diane Odell or the father until the therapist recommends, and that any of that contact should be supervised. I'm not saying I don't want contact to occur for months and months. I just want a therapist to get involved in this child's life immediately and have some conversations with her. And then she can start having contact with her grandmother, and it should be supervised. She may also have supervised contact with her friend Misty. I'm going to order the grandmother, Miss Odell, to provide her clothes and her makeup to Miss Gonzalez by 5 o'clock Monday next week. I'm going to order the department to look into Mr. Odell's family members, Susheta and Brian Scott and Janisa Salazar, for potential studies. Let's do a preliminary first. If they pass the preliminary, I want the parties to staff which one would be most appropriate to study first. If you can't come to an agreement, get an email with all parties to Miss Greenlee and I'll make the decision. I'm going to order the department to seek an alternative long-term placement for the child, Carly, with an emphasis on a therapeutic foster home as first priority. So let's dig deep and see what we can find as far as a therapeutic foster home is concerned, and then look at other placements where there might be multiple children. I don't doubt that both Miss Odell and her son, Mr. Odell, care about this child. I don't doubt that at all. But after hearing the evidence today and talking to Carly, I have some concerns, and I've made an order that addresses my concerns. We're going to come back for a status hearing March the 10th, 2023 at 11:30. That's March 10th, 2023 at 11:30. I want to make sure that arrangements are made for Mr. Odell to be able to participate in that hearing. By that point in time, the parties will have had sufficient notice of grandmother Odell and Mr. Lamoureux's intervention, and they will be able to participate in that hearing as well. I have to admonish you, Mr. Odell, that the state of Texas gives parents in CPS cases 12 months to demonstrate that you can provide a safe, stable, violent, and drug-free home for your child. If you cannot do that within 12 months, your rights to your child are subject to further restriction as they are now or termination. Ms. Kyla Green, is there anything I've failed to address?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
can you clarify the no contact? I'm sorry, I got several names mixed up in there.
So I want the child to have contact with Miss Odell, the grandmother, once a therapist recommends that it's appropriate, and I want that contact to be supervised once it begins.
Sir, can I say something, please?
No, sir. I want the child to have immediate contact with her friend Misty. That should be supervised as well, just to make sure it's appropriate. Obviously, it's difficult for the child to have contact with her father, but if and when the parties are able to figure that out, as long as it's supervised and a therapist recommends it, I'm not going to say that it can't happen, but it just needs to be appropriate. Ms. Howell?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off. I don't mean to. There are virtual visits at the jail. I have another client that was visiting with the children. So if it is recommended therapeutically, I can assist in trying to set up those visits as well.
Once the therapist is on board, I am too.
Your Honor, I would be opposed to visits in a jail at this time. She needs way more therapy first. This dad being in jail and this family living like this has been normalized for this child. And I think seeing her dad in jail continues to affirm that.
Well, and that's, again, I don't, because that's not what I do. I want a therapist to make that decision. So if she's been in a good placement and she's gotten enough therapy and the therapist feels that having that contact with the father who's in jail, incarcerated in a jumpsuit is okay, then I'm going to let the therapist make that call. I understand your concerns, obviously, but I want to leave that to the therapist.
That's fine, Judge. I just wanted to make sure I had it on the record.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, then that'll be the order of the court. Patients. And Mr. Freeman, do you need anything from anybody for purposes of your record?
I don't believe so. I think I got it all.
Okay. All right.
We didn't have exhibits, so.
Your Honor, just the termination order for the mother has been sent to the court. I can send that to Ms. Freeman if necessary, but it was not necessarily introduced as an exhibit.
No,
Okay.
I don't think we need it, but thank you for providing it.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, if Mr. Lamino could please make sure that all of the parties receive his intervention, that would be helpful as well.
And just as a word of, since you're going to be in this case, Mr. Lamoureux, if you could make sure you send everything to Ms. Greenlee, my coordinator. That's how we receive notice. That's how I get it. I understand you're noticing the other parties through e-file, and that's fine. But if you could also include an email to her, then we'll definitely get it. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge, I will add my email in the chat so he can have that.
Okay, I'll leave this open for a moment so you can take your email down. Okay, thank you all for your time and your service. If nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.